Palitoy's Action Man was an incredibly long-lasting toy line. The range first debuted in 1966 and would go on to last an impressive 18 years, with the company finally ceasing production of the toy in 1984. During this 18-year period, Palitoy designed an astonishingly wide variety of figures, uniforms and vehicles, making Action Man one of the most diverse and expansive range of action figures ever manufactured. The broad scope of this range is one of the big reasons that people enjoy collecting vintage Action Man today. But this is also the reason that newcomers to the hobby can find the subject a little bit overwhelming. But never fear, there are a multitude of different Action Man collecting guides available for new-time collectors. And today, Analog Toys is going to talk you through each of these guides so you can find the right one for you and your collection. Hello toy fans, my name is Tony and welcome back to the Analog Toys YouTube channel. Now, collecting vintage Action Man can quickly become a very expensive hobby, so if you're going to start collecting Britain's best loved boys toy, you need to educate yourself, and the best way to do this is one of the many different collectible guidebooks that are available. The first book worth getting is Action Man The Official Dossier, authored by Ian Harrison. Technically, this book isn't a collecting guide to Action Man, it's a written history of the toy, but the book is beautiful to look at and features wonderful photos of some very rare Action Man pieces, like this awesome shop display that celebrates Action Man winning the Toy of the Year award in 1966. I am also lucky enough to have my copy of this book signed by Action Man's chief designer, Bob Breakin. The next books we're going to look at are the set of 3 volumes authored by Alan Hall. The 3 volumes of the Action Man Ultimate Collector's Guide cover different periods of Action Man's production, with Volume 1 featuring the toys and accessories produced from 1966 to 1969. Volume 2 covers the period from 1970 to 1977, and finally Volume 3 details the Eagle Eye period from 1978 to 1984. This complete set of books includes countless high-quality gloss photographs that feature almost every single loose Action Man product ever made, and the books also show the majority of these items in their original Palitoy packaging. Most of the uniforms are photographed both on a dressed Action Man figure and also laid out in pieces, so collectors can easily identify which accessories go with each outfit. These books are now out of print and can be difficult to acquire on the secondary market, but the fact that they are available in 3 different volumes can actually be handy to some collectors, because if, for example, you only collect the 60s painted out era Action Man, then you'll only need to acquire Volume 1 of these books. Action Man The Ultimate Collector's Guide by Alan Hall really is the best resource available, and these are considered to be must-have books for serious Action Man collectors. If you're not concerned about original Action Man packaging and want to own a collecting guide that details all the loose vintage Action Man toys in one book, then we highly recommend Action Man The Real Story by Kevin King. This book shows the details of all the different figures, outfits and vehicles from 1966 to 1996. In this book, Kevin King also uses a 5-star rating system to rank each set by both rarity and value, and I tend to agree with the majority of the scores in this book. Another bonus feature with this publication is the inclusion of 2 additional sections that show collectors all the different Shirley vehicles that were manufactured, as well as Pedigree's Tommy Gun range of Action Man sized figures. For those of you who don't know what I mean when I talk about Shirley vehicles, well, Shirley was a rival toy company in the 1970s that produced a wide assortment of military vehicles scaled to fit Action Man figures. The Alan Hall books were published in the late 90s, and Kevin King's book was released in the year 2000. However, these weren't the first Action Man collectible guide books released. The first Action Man collecting guide was actually released all the way back in 1993 and was authored by Francis Baird, and this is the first Action Man collecting guide that I ever owned. Sadly though, this book is wildly inaccurate and should be avoided at all costs. In fact, the misinformation in this book is such an insult to Action Man collectors that there really is only one thing you should do with it. Another book worth picking up is Action Joe, the story of the French G.I. Joe, that was published in 2004. This book tells the history of French Action Man toys and also details all the French Action Man variations, including some rare and highly sought after outfits, such as the Republican Guard and Zorro, a figure that was only ever available in Europe. Before any of these books were ever published, most collectors used the original Palitoy Action Man equipment manuals as useful references. These small pocket-sized booklets were included with all boxed Action Man figures, and they are wonderfully photographed and were used to promote all the different products available in the line. Personally, I like these original manuals so much that I have framed many of them, and they are proudly displayed on a wall in my home. Even better than the official equipment manuals are the original Palitoy trade catalogues, but these are extremely rare and very costly to acquire today. Palitoy's original trade catalogues were larger size versions of the equipment manuals that were only issued to retailers to give them an understanding of what products were coming out in the forthcoming year. Many of these trade catalogues also feature prototype items that either differed from the mass-produced versions or were never even manufactured at all, like the Desert Truck and the Afrika Korps officer's uniform. For those of you who want to save your money for purchasing actual Action Man toys, rather than fork out your money on books, there are several online resources available that are completely free. Far and away the best of these online resources is the Action Man headquarters, which can be found at www.actionmanhq.co.uk. The website isn't entirely complete as of yet, but is regularly updated with new photos and is a great place to find accurate information on Palitoy's Action Man. It's also worth checking out the Vintage Action Man Collectors page on Facebook, where you'll find a large community of knowledgeable, friendly collectors who are always willing to help answer your Action Man questions. If you're really into Action Man, then it is also worthwhile picking up a few books on vintage G.I. Joe, since this toy was the original inspiration for the first ever Action Man lineup. There are many G.I. Joe collecting guides available, but really only two that I would highly recommend. The first of these is the New Official Identification Guide to G.I. Joe, authored by James D. Simone. This book lays out each set in pieces, much like the Alan Hall Action Man books, which assists collectors in identifying the individual accessories. But unlike Action Man The Ultimate Collector's Guide, James D. Simone's book does not show photos of the outfits on dressed G.I. Joe figures. In my opinion, the best G.I. Joe collecting guide is the Collectible G.I. Joe, authored by Daryl DePriest, and is another wonderfully photographed book depicting all the vintage G.I. Joe sets and is absolutely jam-packed with useful information. So there you have it, Analog Toys Guide to Action Man Collecting Guides. We really hope you found this video both interesting and educational, and if you'd like to support the channel further, head on over to our Patreon page, where you can get exclusive access to behind-the-scenes information on all of our upcoming videos. I'm Tony from Analog Toys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.